All right, so it's 2025. If you're in sales, this isn't just a nuisance. This is a full-blown business emergency. So if you're in sales and if you're wondering why nobody is picking up the phone, I've got some data that I wanted to bring to you, and unfortunately, it's terrifying. First, my name's Brett. I've been in the tech, insurance, technology space, recruiting space, mainly B2B. I've worked with over 5,000 businesses, including a couple Fortune 100 companies, to help them build sales teams, increase contact rates, convert more sales. And I'm seeing a scary trend in the industry, and I just wanted to create some of this content. I have no idea who it's going to help. I don't have any courses to sell. I'm literally just making this to try and help somebody out there. And if I can reach one person, I think recording these early mornings will be worth it. So first off, trust is gone. Reports show that 73% of prospects now fundamentally distrust unknown numbers, right? So spam likely are the two words that are crushing everybody right now. And if your numbers get flagged, 64% of people don't return a call from spam likely if they see it, right? So a lot of times now the technology on these smartphones are so smart that in the settings you can actually have them decline or screen out unknown calls. Because of this very aggressive carrier behavior and filters, this is an industry-wide concern, right? If you're doing telesales, like this is if you make some of your sales over the phone, right? So you don't have to be a full-blown call center or telemarketer. If you talk to customers, if you sell customers over the phone, even if you're just cross-selling, right? This can have a huge impact on your revenue. And what the reports are showing is that contact rates are down nearly 40%. So think about that. You're doing the same amount of work. You may have even grown your team, hired more people, put more money into the marketing, right? So you might even be buying more leads at this point, but you may just be seeing like half the results, or maybe you're just stuck spinning your wheels. And for a lot of business owners, what I'm seeing right now is they don't know which levers to pull in their agency. So that's why I'm making this channel. So if you're in sales, if you're a business owner, the spam likely, it's not your fault, but it is your problem. And I want to get some tools out there that you can use to hopefully help correct this. And I'm going to show you how much of an impact this can make on your sales. I think it's really being underestimated. So if you're cold calling, if you're calling on leads, if you're cross-selling customers, calling win-backs, you've probably already been feeling this. The average conversion rate is hovering right around 2 to 3%. Contact rates on new leads, this is actually getting a human to say hello, are sitting somewhere between 10 to 12% across most industries, right? Now, how you define contact rate, I think, is important, right? Some business owners consider contact a positive outcome, right? Maybe you quote or you get to present to the client. Maybe you want the call to go a certain amount of time. Maybe that's a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Now, I think that's actually a mistake. And the way that we're going to define contact rate on this channel is the number of leads that you've purchased during a certain time frame and how many people you've spoken to. So just as an example, if you bought 100 leads in a month and you spoke to 20, that is a 20% contact rate. Now, of course, if you've been buying leads, you probably understand that that includes the bads too, right? There are going to be people that you call that say hello and then click, they hang up on you. They say hello, you say one thing and they say, take me off your list, do not call me. There are going to be situations where you call a lead and they say that you're the fifth person to call me. You guys won't stop. Take me off your list. We have to include that because if somebody says hello, is that contact? Yes, it is. Even though it might not be positive contact, it is still talking to somebody. Now, there are things that we can do to get people on the phone longer, but I think that falls more into the camp of coaching and training. So really, we're going to clearly define what each of these metrics are. I think contact rate is something that, like I said earlier, has gone from being a nuisance to a full-on business crisis. So it's very important that you understand what's going on because it's not your fault, but it is your problem. All right, so let's just jump into a few things here. We all have heard of, hopefully, the 1 hour rule. What the 1 hour rule states is that if you're buying leads, you're 7 times more likely to qualify a lead if you reach them within the first 60 minutes. Now, I would say, based on the clients that I'm working with, that's far more aggressive. If you're buying real-time leads, you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you were shopping for your product and you're selling a commodity or a service, you're not the only player in town. So put yourself in the shoes of a customer for a moment. You shop online, you go to a website, you've probably never been to that website before, and you put in all of your personal information and request some information on this service or product. When is your motivation level the highest? It's probably the highest when you're actually doing your shopping, right? So if that's the case, your customers, they want speed, they want instant gratification. So if your lead distribution mechanism is based on the old school round robin up rotation, that's a red flag in 2025 and 2026. That used to work really well for retail sales. I should know. I worked retail for many years before getting into tech sales. And we'd have a bunch of salespeople on the floor, customer would walk in, and the next salesperson up would take that lead. The problem if you're doing telesales is a lot of these leads are being generated online. A lot of these people are shopping and their attention span is very short and they want instant gratification. A lot of the lead vendors and brokers and publishers resell this data to multiple lead vendors and then they resell it to multiple businesses. So a lot of times you have instances where you could be calling on the same lead or the lead wants to shop. So naturally when humans want to shop, they need a couple reference points, right? They want to usually get at least 3 different prices to be able to compare. If they shop online and they fill out 3 different pages or 3 different quote forms, they may not realize that instead of getting 3 quotes, they're now more in line to get like 15 or 20 by the time that the publishers and lead brokers are done reselling them. So speed to lead is a huge advantage. I think in 2025, 2026, ideally, you really probably have to call lead in the first 10 minutes to even be competitive. Our clients are shooting to call leads in under 3 minutes. So as soon as the customer clicks submit for the information, their phone is ringing in ideally 3 minutes or less. So you can't hit speed if you're getting block calls, right? So like the speed doesn't really matter if your calls aren't ringing through. And your scripts don't really matter and your coaching doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how good your leads are, quite frankly, if you're coming up as spam likely. And I want you to think about this. You probably have been receiving spam calls yourself. Now, when you get a spam call, you are in sales if you're watching this channel. So you might be a business owner, you might be a sales professional. Now you're in the business of talking to people. And I want you to think like what percentage of those calls do you truly answer? Now, you may be one of those rare breeds that actually answers spam calls because you're in business. But the average consumer today has been getting these calls more and more aggressively every month, every day for the past 3 years. Okay, so at this point, people are burned out. They do not trust numbers that they do not recognize. Okay, so what do? Most businesses just try to solve this by throwing more leads or more people or more dials. And it ends up being a death spiral, right? They keep pushing on the training, pushing on the sales team, pushing on the phone system. But at the end of the day, none of that matters if your calls don't ring through. The market has shifted. So maybe more volume in those categories isn't necessarily what you need. It's intelligent augmentation of your spam protection, right? We need to find a way to stop dialing into a black hole of nothingness, right? That's where leads go to die. So the winners in 2025 and 2026 and beyond, they're doing 2 things differently. Number 1, they protect their caller ID. So they're protecting their caller IDs through registration. Okay, who is labeling you as spam? A lot of businesses think that they call one of their customers or a lead and they get mad and they report them. Now, certainly there are features where you can report spam in your cell phone, But ultimately, it's just the cell phone or the major phone carriers that are responsible for labeling you as spam likely. Now, don't think that they're just picking on you or your industry. This is anybody that makes a lot of phone calls. I'll give you an example. I own a rental property. During the turnover and move out of one of my tenants, I unfortunately had a situation where somebody was trying to move into the property illegally. Luckily, I had a great relationship with the neighbors. They notified me and I called the police. When the police called me, I missed 3 separate calls from the local police department because their phone numbers were showing as spam likely. Okay, so this isn't just your industry. This is anybody that makes a lot of calls. Now, it's probably pretty important that the police are able to get in touch with the people in their community. So sure, that could be a huge problem when we review how our tax dollars are being spent. But if you're a business owner, this is critical, right? You eat and you live and die by your performance. And if you can't get people on the phone, this is a huge issue. So number 1, they're registering their phone numbers. Okay. Number 2, they have an approach where they have the ability to quantify what real contact rate is. I know we defined this earlier, contact rate being the number of leads that you got in a certain time frame and how many people you spoke to. So if you spoke to 20 or 30 people and you bought 100 leads in the month, you once again have a 20 or 30% contact rate. Now, if you're measuring it any other way, number 1, I suggest that you try and redefine it, okay, and see what that does when really holding your team accountable. And I'm going to give you some different methods on that here in later videos. The other thing that I think is important is once you have that data to be able to really identify what your true contact rate is, you have a way to monitor and protect it. So spam likely isn't a maybe, it's a when, right? It's not an if, it's a win. So it is going to happen if you're really doing sales at a high level and you want to grow, right? So what do? Most business owners have a couple options. Number 1, they can monitor this themselves. And if you're like most business owners, you're already wearing a lot of hats, right? You're possibly the owner, the manager, you might be the HR person, you might be the hiring manager, you might be the sales trainer, the customer service manager, you might be the salesperson, customer service rep, janitor. You do it all, right? So that be the spam protection manager as well too may not be realistic. Okay, you're gonna have to dedicate some serious time to this, especially up front, if you plan to do this yourself. So the best agents, they're looking at this every single day. The best businesses are looking at this every single day. Now, if you see a number is flagged, there are ways that I'm going to teach you where you can remediate this yourself. And certainly that's an option. But like most things, it moves a little bit slower if you tend to do this yourself and you're not a professional. Most businesses have a 10 to 14 day cycle once they submit a number to the carrier to be remediated. So that means you have 10 to 14 days of bad contact. Once it's fixed, you could be facing a situation where that number gets flagged again in the very near future. So you have this roller coaster of good and bad contact, and it creates a time suck for a lot of business owners where they end up spending far too much time trying to fix numbers, or they have a team member that spends too much time to fix numbers. The other option that you have is to have a system or a vendor or a partner that specializes in spam remediation. Now, this is what I do. And as of right now, I don't have the capacity to take on more. We have some pretty large enterprise clients that we're working with. But if you find this information useful, I will end up creating some sort of like a newsletter, I think, that I'm going to send out once a week. You can sign up for that. And the first signups there will have the ability to schedule a one-on-one call with me once the schedule and ability opens up a little bit more. Once again, no courses to sell, just more conversations around what you're doing now, the results you're getting versus the results that you want. And sometimes we can help you build a plan. So that's my goal, is to help agencies, help companies sell more, okay? All right, so let's just recap here. If you're tired of spam likely ruining your day, it's time to fix your operation. My name's Brett. If you like this content, go ahead, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Let's get you more hellos. And the way that I do this is pretty raw, right? I'm not gonna be editing my videos. As you can see, I'm showing up right after a workout. I don't know if I aspire to be the David Goggins of sales or what's going on here, but I'm just gonna bring you raw information. And the type of content that you can expect on this channel, I'm gonna be bringing you real reports of companies that I work with and picking apart their data. I'm going to be sharing real conversations with clients that are doing businesses at different levels, right? So businesses that are just starting, businesses that have just started working with me recently on fixing some of these contact rates and what their numbers actually look like and what that revenue looks like. So if you're not a numbers person, if you're not in sales, like this channel probably isn't for you. I don't care how many views this gets. I'm not doing this for subscribers. My goal is to create a very tight, small community where we help each other get more people on the phone so that you can set your team up for as much success as possible. The standard methods of lead generation and sales coaching, those still hold true. And I know sales training is super important. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that. But I think there's a hidden element here that has shifted in the sales environment, especially if you're doing sales virtually or doing any sort of telesales. So if that's for you, feel free to subscribe, comment, share this with friends. If this isn't for you, totally cool too. And I appreciate you watching the video. And I want to wish you a successful and positive day.